The city was always awake. Cars zoomed like ants in a hurry, their horns honking like a symphony of beeps. Skyscrapers stretched so high they seemed to tickle the clouds. The streets were filled with the smell of hot pretzels, coffee, and the occasional whiff of flowers from a corner stand. But in the middle of all this hustle and bustle, there was a tiny park, no bigger than a pocket handkerchief, called Greenleaf Park. In Greenleaf Park, there was a single wooden bench. It was old, with paint peeling off like sunburned skin, but it was sturdy. The bench sat under a large oak tree, its branches spreading wide like a giant umbrella. Every day, the bench waited for someone to sit on it, but the city people were always too busy. They rushed past, eyes glued to their phones or watches, never noticing the little park or its lonely bench. One morning, a plump gray pigeon waddled over to the bench. It cooed softly, hopping onto the seat and pecking at a crumb left behind. The bench creaked happily, grateful for the company. The pigeon stayed for a while, fluffing its feathers and enjoying the shade of the oak tree. But soon, it flew away, leaving the bench alone once more. One afternoon, dark clouds rolled in, and rain began to fall. The city streets glistened like mirrors, and people ran for cover. But the bench didn't mind the rain. It enjoyed the cool droplets washing away the dust. The oak tree's leaves dripped water like a leaky faucet, creating a soothing rhythm. For a little while, the bench felt like it was part of something bigger, connected to the sky and the earth. The next day, a bright red ball rolled into the park and stopped right by the bench. It had escaped from a group of children playing nearby. The bench wondered if the children would come to retrieve it, but no one did. The ball sat there, looking out of place in the quiet park. By evening, the ball was gone, probably picked up by a passerby, and the bench felt a little lonelier. That night, the sky was clear, and the stars twinkled like tiny diamonds. The bench looked up and marveled at how beautiful the city could be when it wasn't rushing around. The oak tree whispered secrets to the wind, and the bench listened, feeling peaceful. It realized that even in a big, busy city, there were moments of quiet magic. The next morning, something wonderful happened. A small brown sparrow built a nest in the oak tree, right above the bench. The bench was thrilled. It now had a neighbor. The sparrow chirped happily, flying back and forth with twigs and leaves. The bench felt proud to be part of the sparrow's new home. As spring arrived, the park began to change. Tiny flowers sprouted around the bench, their colors bright and cheerful. Bees buzzed around, and butterflies danced in the air. The bench loved the new life around it. It felt like the park was waking up, and the bench was no longer lonely. One day, a sleek black cat wandered into the park. It stretched out on the bench, enjoying the warm sun. The bench didn't mind. It liked the cat's soft purring and the way it curled up so contentedly. The cat visited often after that, and the bench looked forward to its company. The little park in the big city became a secret haven. The bench, the oak tree, the sparrow, the flowers, and the cat were all part of a tiny world that most people never noticed. But for those who took the time to look, Greenleaf Park was a place of peace and beauty, a reminder that even in the busiest places, there's always room for a little bit of nature and quiet joy.